the cost of living crisis is a real threat to the well-being of millions of people in the UK. And, you know, to an extent, similar things are happening around the world. And there's various different reasons for it, you know, our over-reliance on certain energy sources, certain fossil fuel sources, the fact that we have private companies that run the energy services, so even when they make massive profits, they can still increase the prices, and all kinds of different things. But it's happening, right? These companies have decided they're going to hike up the prices, and governments have to basically try and deal with that. So I thought it would be interesting to sort of compare what the Conservatives are doing. Obviously, Rishi Sunak is the guy sort of in charge of this, being the Chancellor. What Labour are saying they would do if they were in government, and maybe talk a little bit about what France is doing and what I would like to see happen, me with my infinite wisdom. So, number one, what are the Tories doing? Well, the Tories are doing very little. Rishi Sunak announced that there would be a sort of rebate of £200 that people would be able to get. I believe it was 200, it might go up to 250, but essentially he was saying that people would be able to get this money to be able to help pay the bills. Now, straight off the bat, a lot of you are probably thinking, well, that's not enough, is it? First thing, that's just not enough, because for the average household, the energy bills are going to rise £700 a year, right? £700. So giving them 200 or 250 or even 500 is not enough for people to be able to cover those costs. Then there's also the fact that there's all kinds of other issues surrounding inflation, and wages aren't increasing enough in terms of productivity. In step with productivity, worker productivity skyrocketed in the past few years. In fact, in the past few decades, since the 1980s. But wages have not kept pace with that at all. The minimum wage in the UK would be something like £19 an hour or something if we'd kept it in pace with the improvements in productivity, and they were actually kind of correlated. But instead, the graph looks more like that. So yeah, there's a lot of different problems. But then there's also the fact that this is essentially a loan. What Rishi Sunak is doing is essentially giving people the opportunity to take out a loan to be able to pay their bill, to be able to pay a fraction of their bill. But that's very, very poor economic strategy. I mean, it's economically illiterate, basically, because if you take out a loan to pay for these bills now, they are inevitably going to rise in the future. Can you imagine the Tories keeping them, forcing them to stay the same for a decent amount of time, or even decreasing them? No, of course not. And as inflation improves as well, wages will not keep step with that. I think we can pretty much guarantee it. But even if they did, people are still not going to be able to pay those bills, and now they're going to have a £200, £250 loan to pay as well. And people just will not be able to do that. So you're taking money out of the pockets of working class people who will spend that extra money in their pocket, that extra money in their bank account. They'll go to a restaurant on a Friday night and have a nice dinner out, treat themselves. They'll get those repairs done for their car. They'll buy a new fridge. They'll get a painter and decorator to come and fix things and revamp the house. They'll buy extra clothes for their kids. They'll do this, that and the other. Ordinary people spend money on the economy, and the economy grows, and often local businesses thrive as a result as well. You reduce the taxes of the richest people in society, or large corporations or hedge funds or whatever, and that money goes off into the Cayman Islands. Very little ends up going back into the economy and improving the general prosperity of the population. So it's just very stupid on multiple fronts, right? Obviously, I guess in the short term it is better than nothing, but we should not be celebrating that. Yes, so it's really disappointing. But what would Labour do? Now, Labour have made it very clear, and we'll put the graphic up here for you all to see. It's very clear what they said they do. They keep the energy bills down by cutting VAT on energy bills, expanding the warm homes discount, and taking at least £200 off the typical bill. And they'd say all that would be funded by a windfall tax on oil and gas companies. This is interesting, isn't it? Because obviously cutting VAT on energy bills, that's more than what the Tories are doing. Expanding the warm homes discount, that's more than what the Tories are doing. But taking £200 off a typical bill isn't much better than Rishi Sunak's proposal, is it? He's saying you get a £200 loan. Labour are saying we'll just try and eliminate that. We'll just reduce it with the power of the state, right? Rather than forcing people to pay that back in the future. Now, yes, it's better, but £200 isn't great. It says at least 200, but when a politician says, oh, we're going to do at least this, you should probably expect a little bit less than what they're saying. Certainly not more, even though that's what normal people mean when they say at least. You know, I'm going to watch at least 4 episodes tonight. Well, I'll probably end up watching 6 or 7. Not a politician, it's the total other way around. So when they say at least £200, that doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. However, if we were to take that at its word, that would mean that some people would be getting, £250, £300, £400, £500 off their bill. And that would be good, especially for people who are struggling. The warm homes discount, obviously that's good, and cutting VAT on energy bills, that's good. Funded by a windfall tax as well on oil and gas companies, that's good, because we're ensuring that the money is coming from the companies who are profiting immensely from this kind of stuff, because they have been profiting a lot. The prices aren't rising because the companies are losing money. Right? Maybe their workers aren't making a lot of money, but the bosses, the managers, the board of the executives and all that, they're making loads. So very obvious that we should be taking that tax and helping out millions, probably tens of millions of people who'll be struggling with this in the future. So it's not great, but it's certainly a lot better than what the Tories are suggesting, and that's something. So that's kind of Labour's. Those are the kind of Labour's policies. That's their plan to deal with that. I'd say it's a half decent plan. The Tories basically have no plan. Their plan is terrible, and it's basically like, well, I guess you could spend a bit extra on your credit card. That's essentially what they're saying. But there are other ways that this has been altered. So in France, EDF Energy, the state-run French energy company, EDF has taken a hit financially by being forced to reduce the increase in its energy costs that it's making people pay in France. So it went from, I think, being somewhere around 27% to about 4%, I believe it is. And when you compare it to the UK, that's basically what our people are going to have to deal with. But the French government decided, we're not going to settle for this. So now French people only have to contend with a small increase in their bills. Now, it's still an increase, that's not great, but it's a lot better than, a big increase like we're going to have in this country. So that's a kind of a testament to what I'm about to suggest, sort of, just from my perspective. So I think that it's pretty clear that energy and water and public transport should be owned by the public. Right? They should be nationalised, and the public should have democratic control over how they're ran, and they should be ran in the interest of the public, not private shareholders and wealthy executives. I think that's fairly uncontroversial. And EDF Energy is a good example of that, because the French government has been able to very easily be like, we are capping this, and we're making sure that you don't, commit any daylight robbery against our people, against consumers. And let's be clear, people aren't really consumers when it comes to energy or water, or food or public transport. People just need those things. They are supposed to be being served by the government when it comes to those sectors of life, of the economy. So I think we should nationalise the energy companies. And I think Britain could become a real powerhouse for energy. And some of Labour's plans on green energy and building solar panels and wind farms and things here, manufacturing here, is quite a promising step. But there's still so much untapped potential in Britain, and I think we could have a really successful state-owned energy corporation. But the government that we have right now, the Tories really don't want to do that, and it doesn't look like Labour do either, despite the fact that Keir Starmer said that he supported common ownership of essential utilities like energy in his 10 pledges when he ran to be Labour leader. But he sort of reneged on a lot of that. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts, what you think we should do as a solution to this, because it's affecting tens of millions of people in the UK in a really harsh way. And in various other countries, it's affecting a lot of people. It's making their lives worse. It's taking money out of the pockets of working class people, which doesn't just hurt that individual and their family, which is already horrible, but it hurts the local economy, it hurts local businesses, it hurts everyone else, because there's less money being spent going back into the economy and growing it. So what do you think we should do? And of the two, do you think the Tories' solution is better than Labour's, or Labour's better than the Tories, or what? I'm interested to hear your thoughts, so make sure to leave them in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.